everyone, it's Jenny. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here today to do my first haul video. For context, I've limited myself to only buying 50 books this year. I know that sounds like quite a lot still, but for context, wow, lots of context today. I bought about 230 or just less than that last year, which I know is crazy. So I've realised that I need to cut back on that this year. And I thought it's good to document the books I bought because then I cannot go over my limit. I know that this is the most first world problem to have, like, oh, I have so many unread books on my shelves that I just need to stop buying as many books. I recognise that I am in a very privileged position to be able to prioritise spending my money on books over other necessities. And I have to say that even though I found it hard, I know it sounds really spoiled, but I have found it hard not buying books. I genuinely, if I see someone with a Waterstones bag, I get book envy and I want to go and buy a book. But I have enjoyed the process of buying less books in a way, because it does make me genuinely think, am I going to read this soon? Because I have a new aim that because I have an aim that I want to read a book within a year of having bought it, because I've got far too many books on my shelves that I've had for years. I'm sure I'll enjoy them when I read them, but last year on the few occasions when I read a book really soon after buying it, I really 9 times out of 10 found that I enjoyed it a lot, and even though I'm sure I would have still enjoyed it if I'd read it 2 years later, I definitely think because I still had that initial excitement of the book being new to me that it definitely enhanced my reading experience. Anyway, that's enough context, let's get into the books. My book buying got off to a really cracking start when I bought If Beale Street Could Talk by James Baldwin. I've never read him before, but I will definitely be reading more of him. He is probably a new favourite author for me. This follows pregnant 19-year-old Tish, who narrates the story, and it's about her lover Fonny, the father of her child, who's been wrongly accused of rape, and it's about her family's attempts and journey about trying to free him from prison. In many ways it's a love story, but it's also about racial injustice and prejudice, police brutality in America. The way he writes about love and passion, but also the black experience, was just so illuminating to me. His prose is completely stunning. I highly recommend this. Funny enough, I bought this because I wanted to read it before I saw the film, and then the film never showed in my local cinema, so I still haven't seen the film. But I have no regrets. I loved this. Then I bought a book which is actually on my May TBR, so who knows if I get to it soon, and that is Written in History, Letters That Changed the World by Simon Sebag Montefiore. I'm sure I've got that wrong again. This is a book that spans time and the world. It is grouped together in themes of letters, so there's love and family and destruction and hope. I haven't seen a non-fiction book like this that is so general. Normally it's just one person's letters, like an author's letters. So I'm really excited to read a book that covers so many different famous figures from history. I think this will be a fun, quick read. Hopefully quick read. Then I bought On a Low and Quiet Sea by Donald Ryan, which was longlisted for the Man Booker Prize last year. I have read this one. I have to say I was quite disappointed with it. While I thought the writing was really good, I felt like it didn't gel together properly. It follows 3 different men: Farouk, who is a refugee fleeing Syria, Lampi, who is a young Irish, I suppose, teenager, and John, who was an older Irishman, and it just had a really tepid link at the end where it tries to tie them together, and I felt like each story, because this is such a short book, it didn't give enough in each of the 3 men's narratives for me to really care enough about them or to become engrossed in their lives. I just also felt like it wasn't saying anything new, you know, about masculinity or male relationship. It just didn't quite work for me. The other thing is, I really like refugee stories. I'm interested in that aspect of the story, but there wasn't enough of that in here for me. I thought it was going to be more about that, and it isn't. It's more set in Ireland than it is about a refugee's journey. So maybe this isn't what I wanted it to be, and that's why I didn't like it. Maybe it's me. It's not you. It's me. But I think at least on a linguistic level, this is well written. I'll give it that. So don't let me put you off, she says after having given it a bad review. Then I bought a book that I have already read but I don't actually own because it was a library copy, and that is Small Island by Andrea Levy. She really sadly recently passed away from cancer, and I bought this because the National Theatre are doing an adaptation of her novel, and I wanted to reread it because I haven't read it since I was 17, and scarily that is 8 years ago now. So this follows 4 characters. There's a couple called Queenie and Hortense and Gilbert, who are Jamaican, and it's about the Windrush generation and them coming over to England, where they meet Queenie and her husband Gilbert. This book was one of 12 that I got out from the library when I was 17 in the summer, and I read all those books throughout the summer, but this is the one that has stayed with me the most. It's just beautifully written. Each of the 4 narrators are just so distinctive, and I think that's really hard to do. It's probably my favourite book with multiple narrators in it because it's just exquisitely written, and I really liked how it explored not just the Windrush scandal but also about Britain's involvement in India during the Second World War, because I knew nothing about that and there were real atrocities committed there. You forget sometimes that it wasn't just Europe that was affected during the World War, because that's definitely how we focus on it when we learn about it in history, and I really loved that. And how it writes about the black experience, about how we use the GIs from Commonwealth countries like Jamaica when we needed them for the war, and then how they were treated afterwards during the Windrush period, is really relevant now, just painfully relevant. So I think it'll be the best time to reread this. I probably won't reread it until July because I'm going to see the show in August, but I can't wait to get back to this again and rediscover this world and these characters. It is such a heartwarming read. Then I bought a book that I heard about from Sophie's channel, from Portling the Pages, and that is Motherhood by Sheila Heti. This is a book that I thought was non-fiction, but it's not. I think it's part fiction but also slightly written like an essay in some parts, and it's about a woman making the decision whether or not she wants to have children. I think part of the direction of the narrative is determined by an old, I think it's a Chinese technique where you flip a coin and that decides which way the story will progress, and it just sounded like a really interesting concept to me. I'm so far away from wanting children, good 10 years, but it's definitely something I've been thinking about more recently. This was one of Sophie's books of the year, so that's enough for me. I have really high hopes it'll be one of my books of the year too. Also, I should say, I'm sure you're already following these people because they're much more prominent than I am in the booktube community, but I will link everyone's channels down below that I mentioned. On to a book that I heard about at Lena Norms's channel, and that is Hotel Silence by, oh god, Aurora Ava Alofsdottir. Okay, I'm so sorry. But that is translated by, oh, who is it translated by? I always do this, I don't look it up before. I don't even know. Someone translated it though. Oh, Brian Fitzgibbon. Yes, him. So this follows a man named Jonas, or maybe it's Jonas. There's an accent on the O. I don't know how you pronounce that in Icelandic, but it's about a man who has given up hope about living. So he decides that he's going to go to a war-ravaged country, one-way ticket, and kill himself there. But then he finds that he's needed in the hotel that he stays at. I think it's about how human it is to be needed, how important that is in a life to be able to form authentic relationships, and how feeling value can make you feel like part of a society and whole again as a person. This is published by Pushkin Press, and I just feel like it hasn't got enough hype. I haven't read it yet, but I'm already hyped for it. Then we have another book that I thought was non-fiction, but it's not non-fiction, and that is The Lonely Londoners by Sam Selvon. Is that right? Yes, Sam Selvon. And I think because this is also about the Windrush, I might read these two together. It's a bit different to Small Island because it focuses just on the West Indies, people coming in the Windrush generation. It doesn't focus, I think, on the British people, and it's just men as well, I think, that are protagonists. It's really, again, I think, about finding your place in a country that is alien to you, that also doesn't welcome you and sees you as an alien, in a community or a city that isolates you economically, socially, culturally. Like I said, with all the political things that have happened recently in this country, this is a great time to have bought this book. Then I have a book that I bought when I was on holiday in Wales, and it's so big, I'm too close, I think, to show it in all its glory, but it is... oh, wait. The Lost Worlds by Robert Macfarlane and Jackie Morris. This is the most beautiful book I own. I know I've probably said that before, but honestly, the illustrations in this are stunning. I'm probably way too close to see, but... oh, wait. Can you see? Probably too shiny. Sorry, one day I'll figure out where to put this camera so it isn't too close, but that is not today, my friends. But oh my god, it's beautiful. And basically it has a poem that deals with nature, either an animal or a plant, and it goes through alphabetically from acorn to wren, and it's just a wonderful celebration of nature, and it's the idea that if these words were lost and how we would remember them, how we would talk about these parts of nature, and it is just the most wonderful thing to read, and the illustrations really enhance the reading experience. The poems themselves are wonderful. The poems are all acrostics, so that means that they spell out the word they're talking about down the side. Can you see? It's spelled how it's spelled without acorn. It's just so clever. This is a book that I think all ages can enjoy. It's great for children. It'd be a wonderful, wonderful gift for anyone though. When I bought it, all my family were looking at it. Once again, I really think this will be one of my favourite books of the year. Then we have another book that will probably be a favourite book of the year, and that's Lanny, which I have talked about in my wrap up briefly, so I won't talk about it too much here. But this is Max Porter's highly anticipated second novel. It follows a boy called Lanny who lives in a village which is in the commuter belt of London. Though it is never narrated by him, it's narrated by his mother, his father, Mad Pete, who is a local artist who gives him art lessons after school, and a character called Dead Papa Toothwort, who's kind of like a mystical being who resides over the village, and he's always listening, especially for Lanny, to the sounds. So his sections are quite chaotic and overlapping, as if he's listening to different people. I don't know if you can see that, but the text itself, the way he plays with that, is so clever. There is a lot of magical realism in this book, especially towards the end. It is definitely similar to Griffith's The Thing with Feathers, because I think Crow is very similar to Dead Papa Toothwort. They're slightly sinister, but also not necessarily a bad spirit. It's just the kind of book that if you don't like abstract, if you just like realism, I wouldn't recommend this. It's also quite fluid in its form. If you like structure that is very traditional and you like things that have punctuation in them and have a clear sense of narrator, this is not maybe for you, because the second half of this book is not listed as who's narrating. It's just a lot of voices from the village, and even though I think you can tell who is speaking, you definitely have to concentrate a bit more and use your imagination. But it's a wonderful, wonderful read. I loved it. On to the other end of the scale, sadly, this is a book that I bought but I've actually since unhauled, and that is Dead Girls, Essays on Surviving an American Obsession by Alice Boland. I bought this because it was part of the Feminist Orchestra Book Club, which is run by Jean and Lauren. I'll link it down below. And it sounded really interesting. I thought it was going to be about how girls in the media who are victims of murder, how their bodies are just used as objects to further a man's story who's often the perpetrator of these crimes, rather than actually looking at her as a person and what happened to her. But the thing is, it wasn't really about that, and I gave it a good 100 pages, and I very rarely DNF books, but I've really got to the point now where I just think, well, I have so many other books I would much rather read than finish something for the sake of saying I finished it. To be fair to it, at the beginning was okay. That was a bit about TV shows and novels like mysteries and thrillers and how that deals with the dead girl, but it got into a lot about her father, so it became very personal, and that's okay, but I didn't think this was going to be like a memoir. And then there were a whole set of essays on when she moved to LA and she wasn't happy in LA, which had nothing to do with this, and that was when I bailed. I just thought, this is not what it says in the tin. So I would steer clear of this, really. This was a disappointment, but I should say I bought it. I unhauled it, but I bought it. Then a little while ago I went to a talk given by Camilla Shamsi, who wrote Homefire, and because she was there I bought some more of her books. So the first one that I bought is Cartography. I can tell you very little about this book. I just bought it because I loved Homefire, so that was enough to sell me, and also she was there so she could sign it for me, so that was a plus. It's about two friends called Kareem and Raheen, and I think how their friendship develops and goes quiet but then rekindles. I know it's about some violence in Pakistan, but I have literally nothing else to say. I'm excited to read more of her work because I feel like everyone's read Homefire, but not many people have read this one, so this will be fun. And the other book that I bought by her is Burnt Shadows, which I have heard some people talk about. I think Simon Savage talked about this on his channel, so this one isn't quite as obscure as Cartography. But that said, I'm afraid I also couldn't tell you much about it. I know it starts in 1945 and it moves to, I think, 9/11, so it goes through a bigger time period than Cartography and Homefire, but I don't know what it's about. I'm just game because she signed it. Wait, can you see? Also, it's funny because when I saw her, I was hoping it would be a traditional setup where she would have a table and then we would all just make an orderly queue, but no, everyone was just milling around with wine and we just had to go up to her, and I just got really flustered because I loved Homefire so much and I had 3 books for her to sign, and I said, oh, would you mind? And she signed the first one. And she said, oh, these 2 as well? I said, oh yeah, I don't want to stop you drinking your wine. She said, no, trust me, there's no author doesn't enjoy doing this. And I thought that was really funny. Also, she had fantastic shiny silver shoes. What a babe. Then I bought a modern classic, which is The Enchanted April by Elizabeth von Arnim. I have previously read Elizabeth and Her German Garden, which I really liked. It was quite feminist, so that was fun. And this was lovely. I bought it so I could read it in April, which is very sensible of me, I think. And it follows 4 women who escape to a medieval castle in Italy for a month, obviously the month of April, and how they rekindle their lives and their marriages, and how they reconnect with themselves. I heard about this from Mel's Book and Adventures, and she used this in one of her 5 books that refill my hope bucket, and I loved that video, and this just sounded like such a delightful read, and it was exactly that. The only thing I would say is I think the pacing's a little off, because it goes through just before they go away to Italy and then through each week, and I think they spent a long time on the first week and second week, and then the 4th week is really skipped over. It's basically just a paragraph at the end, and that was kind of a shame. There's no going back to England or anything at the end, but it was just a really gentle read, and if that's the kind of thing you want, especially for a holiday read, I would really recommend this. I should warn you though, that if you read this book, you will need to run away from your life and book a holiday and a castle in Italy with 3 of your friends, because who wouldn't want to do that? Then I have the only poetry collection that I bought so far this year, and that is You Sad Feminist by Megan Beach. This is so special to me now. I cannot describe to you how incredible the reading experience was, especially because I thought, oh, I'll just read a couple before I go to bed, but I was feeling tired and I thought maybe I won't fully enjoy this, but I couldn't get to bed until I finished it. I mean it's super short, but my god, this was so powerful. It deals with the intersection between being a feminist, but how do you feel empowered as a feminist if you struggle with mental health? It's just the most relatable poetry. It's so clever, and it rhymes. I know it sounds really silly, but a lot of modern poetry doesn't rhyme. That's fine, but I really like it when poetry rhymes. I get a lot out of it. I like rhythmical poetry. It was just wonderful. The thing about poetry for me is that I really like reading poetry, but sometimes I don't think I've fully understood it, or I don't feel like I've really found anything in it that's resonated with me. I think one of the most impressive things about this collection is that every single poem is so strong. There's always one dub one normally, but I think every single one deserves to be here, and it completely resonated with me on so many levels. I appreciated this. It was just what I needed when I read it. Then last but not least, we have a new release which I could not be more excited for, and that is The Doll Factory by Elizabeth McNeill. This is a book that is set in 1850 London. I mean, come on, it's Victorian London. Deals with pre-Raphaelites, that's another tick because I did a course on them in my master's year. This is about an aspiring artist called Iris who briefly meets a man called Silas who has a sinister obsession with beautiful things and people, and it's about how his obsession grows while she goes off to be a model for a pre-Raphaelite artist and uses that to expand on her knowledge and technique of art. I think it sounds quite sinister, but it's Victorian historical fiction. If it's got pre-Raphaelites in it, I am so excited for this. Also, look at these end papers. It's gorgeous. I think I'm going to try and get to this very, very soon. There we go, that's my first ever book haul. There'll be a birthday book haul coming along soon, but I just wanted to get these ones in first. Have you read any of these books, or would you like to? Let me know, unless you didn't like them, in which case, honey, I don't want to know. But I'll see you soon for more bookish shenanigans. Bye!